collectors, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a monogram wooden sign that's great for the spring or summer season. I have my wooden slice here, and the colors that I'm going to be working with today are, as you can see, I have black, brown, red, yellow, green, blue, fluorescent violet, and white. I also have some mixing plates to mix up all my other colors on, a thing of water as well as some paper towels, and my brushes. Now I recommend having at least one of each of these types of brushes, one being a flat brush, like one of these three. I prefer one that's round at the edge, which makes perfect flowers, and then at least one pointy brush like one of these two. Now, first thing we need to do, because this is wood, it will soak up the paint really quickly. To help that go by a lot smoother, we're going to douse the entire thing with water before we put paint on top. Then we're going to be giving our wood slice a nice wash. We're going to give it a white wash, so I'm going to take some white paint with a large flat brush, douse it with a ton of water, get it really liquidy, really runny, and then paint the entire thing with this watered down white. We should be able to see the grain of the wood shine through, so it'll be nice and translucent. Now we want to add a little color back to our wood, so with my flat brush I'm going to be creating a sort of golden yellow, so a little bit of yellow, a little bit of brown mixed together, and I'm going to throw little lines, little horizontal lines randomly throughout my wood slice, and then take some water on my brush to help blend it in more. I'm going to do the same thing with a touch of brown and a touch of black throughout my wood slice. Now if you feel like you put too much color on, or maybe you want some spots that are a little bit brighter, you can get into some white paint, and I'm going to throw some sort of in the middle of my wood slice just to brighten it up. Now we need to let our canvas dry before we continue. Once it's dry, we're going to be mixing up some colors for our flowers. I'm going to be using a flat, rounded brush. This is the perfect shape for our flower petals. And I'm going to be mixing up a nice hot pink. So I'm going to grab some red and maybe even a little bit of that fluorescent violet. Feel free to even put a little bit of white in there in case you want it to be a little bit lighter. With this color, we're going to figure out where we want our flower to be. Mine's bottom left corner. And starting at the edge of each petal, we're then going to drag from that point in towards the center of our flower about 5 times. There should be 5 petals per flower we're making here. Now we're going to be making a new color, one that's more purple in tone. So we're going to get a clean brush and mix together some fluorescent violet and maybe a touch of blue. Then we're doing the same exact motion that we did for our hot pink flower. I'm doing one above to the left and one below to the right of that hot pink flower. My next flower is going to be just straight blue paint right from my palette. It's going to be in the top right hand corner, and it's the same shape as the pink and purple flowers. My last large flower is going to be yellow, and its petals are a lot thinner, so I'm going to use a pointy brush and mix together a scoop of white and a scoop of yellow just to make a slightly lighter yellow than what we have on our palette. Now I'm going to pinpoint where I want my flower to start. This is the top left corner. Just put a little dot, and then just like the other flowers, we start from the petal and move in towards the center. This has more petals and they're a lot longer and thinner. Next, we're going to work on connecting all of our flowers together by mixing up a nice light green. Going to be mixing up some green, yellow, and a touch of white. So we have this nice, lovely lime green. And if you want it more muted and more of a realistic color, you can even add a touch of brown to it. Then with this green, we're going to be drawing some stems, some leaves, little buds that little flowers are going to be sitting on. So starting off, on the right side of my blue flower, I'm going to be drawing a line coming down around, and we want it to be curved since we have a lovely curved wood slice. So this is a little stem, and coming off of this stem, we're going to have these leaves. You want to press and flick to get this sort of teardrop shape. Or you can start at the tip of a leaf using light pressure, and then as you get towards the stem, you push harder onto your brush to get some thicker areas. Now, we are also going to be adding these little stems or these little branches off from this main stem. These are going to have little flowers, little buds that are going to be on top of those later. I'm also going to connect my yellow and blue flower at the top with this rounded line. And this is going to be getting some of those extra little stems. Then at the bottom of my yellow flower, I'm just going to do a nice big thick leaf. And at the top of my purple flower, I'm going to have a stem coming up. And on that stem, we're going to be adding a ton of leaves, both to the top edge as well as to the sides. Then to the right side of the bottom purple flower, we're going to draw a stem coming up. This one's also going to have a ton of leaves just like the one we just painted. And then coming off of that stem, we're going to have another stem that's going to have little branches where those little flower buds are going to be. We're going to draw some extra little leaves here and there. So at the top of my blue flower, I have maybe a really small stem with 3 or 4 leaves on it. I'm going to do 2 of those. And then at the bottom of my purple and pink flowers, I'm going to do a couple of leaves, kind of going in between the 2 colors. Then with that pointy brush, getting it nice and clean and getting back into our purple, I need to mix up a little bit more. And we're going to be adding little flower buds onto those little branches we have made on our stems. Next, we have these tiny little brown flowers. They almost make me think of dried up flowers. I'm using a really small pointy brush in my brown paint, and each one of these, and there are 2 of them, are going to get a full stem and then little branches or petals that sort of flick out from that center point, almost like a fan. And at the end of each one of those small lines, we're going to be putting a dot. Next, we're going to add some detail work into our leaves and stems. So I'm going to make a darker version of our green with the scoop of green and a little bit of brown. I'm going to be taking this and throwing it throughout our stems and leaves. In our leaves, we might want to have that sort of leaf texture where you have a line down the middle and a couple of diagonal lines that come out from that. Next, Next, we're going to add some detail work to our flowers. So with a small pointy brush, going to be mixing up a lighter version of our hot pink by adding some white to the color. Now, this is going to be sort of like a rose petal texture where we start with a little C in the middle of our flower and then draw these little curved lines going around it, and they get bigger and bigger as you get towards the edge of your flower. As you can see, just keep going around in a circle with these small dash lines. I'm going to do the same thing with my purple by adding some more white to this color and doing the same texture in each of those purple flowers. Next, we're going to add the center to our blue flower. So I'm going to be taking a clean pointy brush and mixing up some yellow with a scoop of white and a scoop of yellow. Now to throw this in, I'm going to simply just push into my canvas this little poking sort of texture for the center of that flower. Then to the outside rim of this flower, to all these petals, I'm going to take my fluorescent violet with a small pointy brush and just give it a nice little outline to give it a purple hue. Then to the center of my yellow flower, I'm going to grab some of that blue, do the same dotting motion, but then before it dries, I'm going to get a clean brush and get into some white paint and throw a highlight of white to the top edge of that blue center to our yellow flower. Then the last part of our flowers is to take a little bit of black paint to the center of that yellow center of our blue flower, doing the same dotting texture that we did to put in the yellow. And now it is time for our monogram. So whatever letter you want it to be, feel free to do any font you like. I'm using the color black with a small pointy brush, and I'm doing the letter M. You can do whatever letter you want. Feel free to even find maybe a calligraphy generator online so you can get a beautiful font to recreate. Now that is the last and final step to creating our monogram flower wooden sign, and we would love to see what you've painted at home. Feel free to post on social media and tag us at muse_paintbar so we can check them out. And if you want to see any other tutorials that we have, feel free to check out our page, like, subscribe, and with that, don't forget to always paint outside the lines. Bye everybody!